Oh, it's Friday. Happy days. Hope you've had a fantastic week. Pulling into the weekend, it's only going to get better for the next 3 hours of power. Guests, Luke Darcy returns to the Friday Huddle, which I'm enormously looking forward to. We've got exclusive audio of Ed Sheeran, which is going to be presented later in the show by Jacko Warne, which I'm really looking forward to. We're going to talk about the Hawks, the big game coming up tonight, but I look around at three men that I like to call close friends, and we're here in the studio. Damo's got, the beard, he's getting longer and longer. He's pulling it off. He looks magnificent. Damo, nice to see you.
And I even followed your lead today, Howard, and wore some shorts.
You did?
For the first time, I think, ever to any form of work.
And looking at your legs, you should wear them more often, Lance Armstrong. Looking very good. And Nathan Brown's got a cheeky look on his face. He looked up and about. Hello to you, Noodle.
Always good to be here. Always good on a Friday coming into the weekend. The footy's going to be great tonight. Tell you what, the Western Bulldogs up against Adelaide. I think people are forgetting how good Adelaide were last year. They were the best side in it up until final, so cracking game tonight.
Oh, look at the Chief who is in Adelaide for the big game. He'll be on Fox tonight. He's got a nice, just non-insignia grey T-shirt on. He's got an X, which is probably a Xavier hat on. He's got thongs and shorts. And this man is on top of his game. Hello to you, Chiefy.
Gentlemen, how are we? Sitting here in the Triple M commentary box at the Adelaide Oval and feeling better for it, seeing those three faces down the dial.
Chief, then I want to ask you a question. You play a lot of tennis and you get a lot of injuries. You've had a lot of cortisones, particularly in your elbow over time. And we've just had Mark Howard walk in and he's had a cortisone himself.
Awful.
Now, have you ever had a bandage wrapped around your elbow so much that it covers half your arm?
No.
Because Howard has walked in, he has had a cortisone in his knee. He has a bandage that goes from mid-thigh to mid-calf.
It's a
They
Matthew
normally put a little tab Band-Aid on it.
It's a Matthew Promise type of bandage, isn't it?
It's a mattress.
It's a mattress.
Major procedure, Howie, wasn't it?
No, just a bit of cortisone from the great Doc White. I'm following his instructions. He said if you don't leave that on till tonight, some of the cortisone can leak out. But to be fair to the doc, he's a bit off centre because he had his 57th birthday yesterday and he's preparing for his wife's 21st tonight.
Howie, you can't say that.
Fully focused. He's He's a great man.
He's one of the greats, our Doc Rowan, isn't he?
He's pumped more cortisone into you and me, Chief, than is good for any two humans. All right, let's
Are you
get
okay? Are you gonna get through the show?
No, I'll be able to get through.
You don't need the bandage.
You certainly wanted us to talk about it because with that bandage...
that's what I came in. I want the boys to rib me about getting the cortisone.
Florence went to school the other day because she bent her thumb back when she was kicking the football and she had a bandage around and it was all theatrics. It was all so the other kids could ask her, "Oh, Florence, how are you? Okay?" That's exactly what you've done. You are such a big head. You're ice cream licking yourself. Look at that big thing on your leg.
I came in here full of positivity and you bring that type of crap to the table. And I said I've got three of my best mates here. I was including Damo, Chief and the great Herbalicious. And you're out. All right, it's time for...
These are the Friday Huddle's favourite headlines.
To breaking news. Returning now to this morning's top story.
It's 4 at 4 from the last 24.
Another 4 goals, Howard. 13 for the season now to Jack Gunston. Helped Hawthorn to a really solid and impressive win against Sydney last night at the MCG. He was aided by Jai Newcomb, Tom Barras. I thought Dylan Moore was really good as well. Connor McDonald, Nick Watson was lively. Survived the hamstring scare, and they managed to get the job done, Browny, without Goulden and Heaney for the Swans, which I think was the key storyline out of it. Had they both been available, I feel this would have been a different result, or at least a more even result, but they did it well.
It was a good win by Hawthorn in the end. 20 points down, and they kicked 5 of the last 6 goals. Ask you a question. You mentioned Jack Gunston. We always talk about probably Jeremy Cameron at the moment being the best forward in the game, and then the conversation turns to Sam Darcy. Is it fair to say right now, Chief and Damo, that he could be the best forward in the competition right now?
Oh, that's a big statement, a very big statement. What he is doing is showing what a craftsman he is. He knows the art of playing forward. He's playing deep, which is suiting him. He's using space beautifully. He's got himself incredibly fit. And if you watch some of his footage, he is making multiple leads. He's always on the move. And the difficulty now, Nate, you know how much zone defence there is. And then when they try to switch to man on, it's so hard for a defender to quickly pick up a man that's constantly moving, trying to track the footy, trying to track your opponent. He's just using his smarts. and he's kicking goals on a regular basis. He must be enjoying the game.
A stark difference between the two forward lines last night. So Gunston didn't always get the football, but what he did, he offered a lead and he went hard, which allowed Marbio Chol so much one-on-one time. Marbio Chol should have kicked 6 or 7 last night. He get that many opportunities. Look down the other end. No one wanted to lead. Everybody wanted the ball kicked long with their hand in the air. So Jack Gunston not only kicked goals himself, 4 goals for, but he set up others. All right, time for me, Howie.
Yep.
Now, I was going to talk about Cam Green, but that's old news. I found some new news, and it is the Dutch side in the soccer competition, the ADO Den Haags, they're called.
I see.
And they've got a player from Finland, and his name is Diogo Tomas.
What's his name?
Diogo Tomas.
Okay, and he's from Finland.
He's from Finland.
Playing in the Netherlands.
Yep, and they've gone into promotion. So they've won their league. They're back into what would be the EPL in that league. So he has gone to the press conference after the game, Damo. He's got a cigar in one hand. He's got a Heineken in the other.
I'm warming to him.
And then he starts talking about himself in the third person.
Will there be a Thomas next season?
Yeah, Thomas will be next season. We don't know where Thomas will be, but Thomas will be somewhere next season.
Could it be here?
Yeah, anything is possible. I've loved my time here, and I love these guys, and I go to war with these guys.
So I had to edit out a fair bit there because in between he was taking a toke on the cigar and then having a swig of the Heineken in between answers.
And we're worried about a couple of blokes on a scissor lift. We need more. This is what we need. This is what we need. Chief, what's caught your eye?
Well, I'm going down the NRL path again. I did it last week because the Broncos' premiership defence is in tatters and the Queensland team's not doing well. But there was a game last night in Canberra which was won by the Bulldogs, 14-10 in tough conditions. And the Bulldogs coach, Cameron Ciraldo, went to the presser afterwards and he said, look, there's been a bit happening and the window in the coach's box smashed and I've got to go and get stitches in my hand. So there was a lot happening. It was really poor conditions. It was foggy. They couldn't see. They tried to open the window. The window smashed, cut his hand, so he's got to go and get stitches. He said, look, it's an iconic venue, GIO Stadium in Canberra, but it probably needs an update. Well, he's just lit the fuse because then when the media had Raiders coach Ricky Stewart in the presser, they told him what happened. Now, these are quotes. So Ricky Stewart goes, I didn't see it. There's no good whinging about it. The people you've got to whinge to don't give a shit. People that make decisions about our stadium don't care about the stadium. They don't care about the nation's capital and the shit-house stadium we have. That's why I don't whinge about it. I don't care. They don't care. It's hard whinging to a person who doesn't care about the actual outcome of it. So I suspect they're not happy with their home stadium, the Raiders. They want a bit of government money maybe to give it an upgrade. Could you imagine an AFL coach launching like that at a presser?
And unlike Ricky Stewart, Chief, to speak his mind.
Yeah, it's
which
a
he always
different
does.
culture, isn't it?
Maybe we're too sanitised. I bring to you probably the biggest decision in Australian cricket since Kerry Packer took over. So this week or next week, the full boards will meet to decide whether they privatise the BBL Damo. Now, there's all sorts of information we can talk about. There's talk if they sell 49% of 6 sides and potentially sell the Renegades in entirety and the Sydney Thunder in entirety, it could raise between $600 to $800 million. So it's a lot of money.
Ooh.
So
is all the money coming from India?
Well,
most will.
Most will. That's the way it's happened around the league.
Yep.
So I'm interested in your opinion here as to what you'd be happy with and what you wouldn't be happy with. So the more you pay, the more control you get. So this happened to in the UK with the 100, and a couple of teams have changed their name and colours.
Yeah.
All of you. Does that worry you if the Sydney Thunder become the Sydney Capitals and they're wearing purple?
It does worry me.
It doesn't worry me.
It doesn't worry you, Chief.
me.
No, it's only, what are we, 10 or 11 years old?
Yeah.
So it's not like we're bucking 50 or 100 years of tradition.
They're not exactly a great colour either at the moment. That
This
lime
is the time
green.
to do it.
I feel it's had a really good 3 years, Howard, after the initial problems they had when they increased the amount of games. And I say that because I reckon there's a genuine affinity now with the supporter groups of the teams. And that even goes for a Sydney Thunder, who probably, by way of comparison with the Sixers, suffer, don't they? But I would be being very careful what you wish for there. I know the 800 million might be something you can't sneeze at, but to lose, I think, some affinity with these teams, which have been built up quite cleverly now, and was going to be the future of Australian cricket. If they're going to sell it off, I'm worried.
You're in the cricket world more than us. What do you think?
Well, no, I've got a few more questions for you, then I'll tell you what I think. So in a couple of the leagues overseas, Pakistani players have not been picked in Indian-controlled teams. So we had some great Pakistanis last year. Shaheen Shah Afridi, Babar Azam, Rizwan, Shadab Khan. How would you feel if a Big Bash team, let's not talk about it necessarily being from a certain country, but certain countries were excluded from selection?
So they bring their politics into our country. That'd be pretty tough, wouldn't it? I'd rather them keep that over there, but if you open the door, then you open the door for them to make the decisions as well. So if they own the team, I think they have the right to pretty much do what they want.
I've got the similar view. Yeah, I'd hate there to be any person, for whatever reason, excluded from a team before it's even selected.
Everything comes at a cost. So I want to see the business plan for it, Howie, because we're talking about selling something that's going to generate an enormous amount of income that can then be reinvested into Australian cricket, and I get that. But what does it mean for the future profitability and existence of this competition, and what does it become?
Two more questions for you. The next question. So the price, we talk about gaining international players, but the big driver in the Big Bash is the Australian players playing. So near the end of the summer, you see Stark, you see Smith, you see Carey, you see Inglis, boost numbers, boost ratings, boost viability to the product. So next summer, Australia plays 4 tests versus New Zealand, and then in the January window, go to India for 5 tests. So next year, an Australian test cricketer, I don't reckon will play 1 game of Big Bash. So if you're an owner from overseas, you want the Australians playing. How do you feel about an Australian summer turned completely around where your test matches are put in a different position, which is what they're doing in South Africa, and your traditional test cricket window is pushed to an area where the Big Bash flourishes in that particular spot?
Well, I think it's a business decision, isn't it? And for cricket to survive long term, obviously test matches always survive because you've got Australia, you've got England, and you've got India. But outside that, at the moment, there's not a lot of crowds at other venues around the world. So I'd be open to it. Does that include changing the Boxing Day test match on the 26th of December?
Potentially.
That would be a tough pill to swallow. But in terms of trying to raise money, trying to keep it viable, trying to turn a dollar and keep cricket where it needs to be, maybe they do.
We're tight for time. So I've given you the 3 negatives, but I still think they have to do it because working on cricket overseas, talking to people about where they view the Big Bash, if we do not take this money, we will not get access to the players that the Indian teams will control. So we're now up against the SAT20, which has a higher standard than the Big Bash now, to be honest, from the world view. The ILT20 in Dubai is getting the players that we used to get. So if we don't take the money, we are in a January period with 3 comps on, we will be the weakest of the 3 comps.
But once again, the entire control of world cricket will rest with the Indian bodies.
100%.
But it does anyway, Damo. There's no point fighting what you can't beat. It's interesting, Howie, because 5 years into the BBL, it was the second best T20 competition in the world behind the IPL. And it was highly regarded, highly rated. Everyone wanted to come and play there. But where they lost a handle on it was financially. They weren't rewarding the players.
Yeah.
They weren't giving them comparable wages to what they're earning elsewhere. And so the players went elsewhere, which you would expect them to do. You take the best deal. They're not going to travel further than they have to go to Australia than anywhere else and take less money, are they?
Well, a perfect example to wrap this up. So Deval Brevis, young South African star, he gets money outside the salary cap in the SA20, which we're directly competing with. He signed a deal for $1.2 million a season. So top price in Big Bash is probably $500,000.
Okay.
If you're a cricketer, what are you going to do?
Is that Aussie or US?
That's Australian. That's Australian. Right, your song, Brownie. Up next, though, Chief Slaughterhouse. And he's coming off a long run. Run to Paradise, Choir Boys, Friday Huddle, Triple M. Penrite Oil, Australian owned and made since 1926. For 100 years, they've driven innovation and lubricants for cars, bikes, trucks and industry. Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven. So much positivity about the first few weeks of the show, but according to the audience, there has been a glaring error, and this is what has been left out. It's back.
Come inside and have some fun. The party's only just begun.
How about your chairman? This is Chief Slaughterhouse.
Now, look, we're not going to be silly about this, but I just need you to come along for the ride.
Oh, no, we're coming, Chief.
What's the topic, Chief?
There's an article I stumbled across, and it's collaboration between Timeout magazine and Intrepid Travel, and they came up with the 50 best cities in the world for 2026.
Right.
Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm a very proud Australian. I love Australia. I've lived in Melbourne for the last 40 years, and I love living in Melbourne. It's been great. We have been rated number one.
Melbourne?
The number one city in the world.
Wow.
So the first question you ask is, what were these people smoking? Because, I mean, look, So we were lauded in the article for our sporting events, for our culinary prowess, for the cooler streets, rooftop bars, heritage-listed buildings, and the new metro tunnel. Let's be very clear. We'd heritage list a rundown old shitter if it stood derelict for long enough. But I feel they may have overlooked a few of Melbourne's true delights. And we talk about sporting events. So we've got the Com Games on at the moment. We're going to have the Com Games on at the moment. That cost us $600 million for the pleasure of not having the Com Games on. And $200 million of that 600 went to Glasgow, who's now actually hosting it. So we're helping subsidise the Commonwealth Games in Scotland. That was a great decision. And we spent $13 million on an amnesty program. That's for 45 machete bins, which I think was a brilliant idea. If you're short of a knife, you can just go dip in, grab one, and then cut to your heart's desire.
Because they've disappeared off the streets too, Chief. Now.
It's frightening, isn't it? You've got to love the warm climate. I mean, the great thing about Melbourne is if you get cold, you just warm yourself up at the local tobacconist that's just been firebombed. So there'll be a nice roaring fire there. You just put your hands up, you get nice and warm. It's perfect. We're number one for car thefts in Australia, although you're probably happy to have your car stolen, given the suspension's shot to shit due to all the potholes in the roads. In fact, we're number one in Australia for carjackings, for violent home invasions, theft and crime in general. It's even getting harder just to walk your dog. Turn your back and it's gone. It's frightening. But it is a great location in Melbourne. It's the perfect spot to head to iconic sites like the 12 Apostles, the 7 Apostles, the 4 Apostles, however many of them are left. But you better get in quick because you're going to get taxed to see them. And the reason we're getting taxed is because budgets on every single government project have exploded through the roof. The money well is drying up, so they're inventing new taxes. In fact, the only low figure these days is the accountability for all the negligence and corruption. That sits at zero. It's extraordinary. Now the government's going to jump in and legislate reworking from home laws. I mean, seriously, why bother letting businesses try to dig themselves out from financial disaster following the most lockdown and COVID status the world has ever seen? We just paid $125 million in a class action settlement to some of the businesses that we screwed over. Now the government's going to tell you how to get your staff, get the best out of them. And I mean, they are the best at navigating incompetence and corruption anyway. And we don't have to worry because if the government runs into any problems, the CFMEU's got their back and vice versa. So it's all good. Don't mention dwindling police numbers, emergency responders getting assaulted all around the place. We are number one. Melbourne number one, just marginally ahead of Tehran and Karachi.
It's hard to argue. The opposition party, I saw them doing their sporting prowess this week.
The little lad.
They probably just need to clip that up from the Chief and put that on their socials. It's Chief, we're positive people. We love where we live, but hard to argue with a lot of those points, Damo.
Well, you're now also, I read today, getting if you go within 50 metres of a new Mikey reader, you're going to get swiped. It's going to swipe your credit card or your Mikey card, even though you haven't been on a train.
Well, that's more government money that they can waste on something, Damo.
I like that you might as well have your car stolen because the suspension will be rooted around the potholes. That was very nicely delivered by you, Chief. You're in good form. Well done. Jacko Warne to join us next. He has been sitting down with an exclusive, a worldwide exclusive with Ed Sheeran. He's just wandered in the studio. He's got arms like the Rock, this man. Have a look at the physical presence that he has. Jacko Warne to join us next. Chiefy, best you've ever done. Friday Arvo, how good. You've got Nathan Brown, you've got Damien Barrett, you've got the Chief Dacian Dunstall, and you've got a man that wanders in here who has done some incredible work over the last 4 years with the Shane Warne Foundation, rising and raising awareness about heart health. What him and his sisters and Helen and everyone have done has been absolutely extraordinary. But he wanders in here with a podcast called Warne's Way. If you haven't listened to it, it's called Warne's Way. You must. He's got a guest that none of us can really believe. Jacko Warne, looking tremendous. Welcome to the Friday Huddle, mate. How are you?
Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me. Yeah, I know it's a bit surreal looking back and watching the footage of who I just recently edited because, like, in the moment, I'm just talking to a normal man. He's the most like us person. And then as I'm, posting it and looking at it, I'm going, I have Ed Sheeran for a podcast. This is like, I can't believe it.
Well, a round of applause for a start because it's a tremendous effort. So I love the nuts and bolts of this. We've got some fantastic audio that hasn't ever been heard, and you're allowing to play it, and Ed's allowing us to play it. But how do you go about getting Ed Sheeran on your podcast? And then when he rolls up, describe the scene for us.
Yeah, I just floated the idea with him when he was here in Melbourne. I said, look, he's asked, what have you been up to? I said, look, the last few months I started a podcast called Warne's Way, and the core of it is talking to Dad's closest friends or rivals or people he knew in all walks of life and sharing Shane Warne stories. And I know him and Dad and Ed had such a great relationship. And so I just floated the idea with him, and he said, look, I'm not doing any promos or interviews this year, but this doesn't feel like that. This feels like it just needs to be done, so let's do it.
Brilliant.
Which was awesome.
And when he walks in, does he bring 15 dudes with him, or is it just Ed?
No, it's just Ed. He's very low-key. Where we filmed, it was actually the very first place he performed his first ever gig at in Melbourne at Baked House Studios in Richmond when he was 21 years old in front of 60 people. Wow. So, yeah, we filmed it there during the day, and he just walked in after a few of the other things he was doing. It was all set up and ready, and he's probably like the most like us. He could walk in here and it'd be, just like us. He rolls with about 4 people, his security guard, PR, and his photographer, and that's really it.
The boys have got so many questions for you, but people want to hear. So we've got 2 grabs. We'll play one now, and the boys will have some more questions, then we'll come back. But this is on Warne's Way podcast, Ed Sheeran talking about roulette and your father.
I'd flown in with my family for Michael's memorial, and we did the quarantine for 2 weeks, and then got out of quarantine, got to Melbourne, and all of Michael's mates were like, we're gonna go and do a blackjack game, very, very low stakes. We're not gonna gamble big. We're gonna drink Michael's favorite wine. We're gonna share stories about Michael. I remember your dad was coming, and I sat down, and I was next to all of Michael's friends, and they were all kind of old dudes, and I'm like, where the is Shane? And he was in the opposite room with you playing roulette. And I remember I went in and I was like, Shane, what the you doing, mate? We're meant to be doing blackjack. And he was like, no, mate, I'm deep into roulette. And he'd lost quite a bit. And he was always putting on 23. Yeah. And I kept going in and checking in on him. And I was like, Shane, look, my lucky number's 17. Put it on 17 and let's see if it hits. So he put a big amount on 17 and it hit 23.
Oh no! Oh no! It's such a good story.
Great.
It's such a good story because
I was like, ooh, yeah.
Okay.
See you later.
The Michael reference there, Jackson, was Michael Gudinski, obviously a great mate of everyone, and Shane, and obviously Ed there. So just when you delved into that particular story, the gambling was a big component to Shane's life, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is Ed the same?
Yeah, Ed was the same. And firstly, how cool is it just hearing his voice? It just doesn't actually feel real. But Ed actually told me as well on the podcast, the first ever time he punted was when he was here in Melbourne with Michael and Dad, and they were actually the ones that got him into it.
First ever punt.
Yeah, first ever time gambling, roulette, blackjack. They went to Crown, and I don't want to say that Dad was a bad influence.
No, he was.
It was all just a bit of fun. And I also said to Ed, because when he goes to Crown and comes to Melbourne now, obviously with Michael not being here and Dad not being here, it doesn't have the same feeling. And when he was here in 2023 performing in front of the Shane Warne stand, and he just said it just feels different now. But yeah, for Ed to give me over an hour of his time just to share stories about Dad and Michael and Melbourne and everything was so special.
If you haven't seen, I think on Netflix, it's called One Shot, where he walks around New York City and he's filmed singing and interacting. It's the best thing.
One Shot.
It's the best thing I've seen on Netflix, but it's not as good as Warne's Way podcast. Jacko, can you stick around because we need to play some more audio? And I think Chief wants to ask you about those things on the end of your shoulders, which are just some of the biggest arms I have ever seen. You going to stick around, big man?
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me.
Let's do a quick bicep pump in the break and we'll get back. Counting Crows, Friday Huddle, Triple M. Jackson Warne is in the studio telling us about his exclusive with Ed Sheeran, the only interview he's doing all year. It drops this Monday, 6 p.m. on the Warne's Way podcast. Jacko and Ed, it is a match made in heaven.
Did you speak to him about how he handles fame? Like you said that he's just like anybody else walking around, but he's not. He's a mega superstar like your old man was. He even did a collaboration with Eminem not that long ago. So how does he deal with the fame?
Yeah, he's a megastar, but I think why so many people love Dad and so many people love Ed is because they were always themselves. And that's something I do mention in the podcast. I say, you guys, doesn't matter where you were or who you were talking to, you're always yourself. Dad wasn't afraid to show he wanted to have a smoke, or Ed wasn't afraid to show he likes to have a drink. And I think that's what makes both of them so relatable and wants everybody, he's just like us. But yeah, Ed's been rolling with his same security guard who's his best mate called Kevin, who actually got married at his property because Ed bought a chapel or built a chapel on his property, and they've been like best mates for 15 years.
That's a fantastic story. You mentioned before that he went back to the Richmond studio where he first played in Melbourne. He is a man of the people, as you've said a few times, and in fact he took a train from Sydney to Melbourne rather than a plane. I think that illustrates what he's about too, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he's always, like, even when he was up and coming, he just loved they call it in England the tube. And when he obviously was getting more and more famous, he wasn't able to travel on the tube anymore. So he always would go in disguises and always have hoodies or balaclavas on. And he said before, now when he goes in England, he just wants to get on the tube, he'll just put on a balaclava. And he promised he's not robbing anybody. And sometimes he'll pull his face up and people are like, oh my God, it's Ed Sheeran. But yeah, he's just like us. I think that's why he got the train from Sydney to Melbourne. And yeah, you see the photos that came out of him leaving the train. He's fully covered up. Looks like he's about to rob a bank.
If you ever want to fit in Melbourne at the moment, just wear a balaclava.
You won't get questioned.
You got no problems at all. Warne's Way podcast. Jackson Warne, Ed Sheeran, Monday 6 p.m. for the full drop. But this is one of my favourite parts where he talks to you about going to see Coldplay with your father, Jack.
One of my last memories with your dad, I really cherish it, was we went to go and see Coldplay together at the Shepherd's Bush Empire. And we got I don't really go to gigs. I know that's weird because I do gigs, but I guess it's like, I don't know, when I'm home, I just want to be home. But your dad was like, Coldplay are playing tonight. I went up and sung Fix You with Chris as well that night. And your dad came round before to my house and we had sort of like pre-drinks and hang. And then we walked there because it was just around the corner from my gaff. And I stood next to your dad for the entire gig. I usually would watch from like side of stage, but I was like in the crowd next to your dad, arm around him, singing loud. And it was like COVID lockdown was sort of ending. And it was the first time, people had been at gigs. It was also seeing Coldplay in like a tiny venue. But I like really cherish that, like, that was my last proper memory with him.
Extraordinary stuff. Now, we've got to address the elephant in the room, please, Jackson. It looks like you've substituted your arms with a pair of thighs in your sleeves. I'm not quite sure what's going on. What sort of steel are you throwing around in the gym, my friend?
Heavy I promise you it's just fueled by lots of Macca's, lots of pizza. I'm a bit of a pretender. I still like to eat some yummy food here and there.
Come on, mate. What are you lifting?
Well, I'm actually probably the strongest I've ever been. I am dumbbell benching 54 kilos for 2 sets, which is like my highest, like
Howie,
something I'm very proud of.
12, Chief, on a good day.
5.4.
So Monday, 6 p.m, it drops. Just, mate, we could speak to you for hours, but just try and give a basic summation of the hour you spent with Ed, what it meant to you, to your sisters, and what people are going to hear, mate.
I think it's just a very special chat. Obviously with their relationships, like if you like Ed and you like Dad, this is just such a really nice, wholesome podcast, because even Ed said it in the show as well, it's his first time sort of talking publicly about Michael and about Dad, about how Melbourne really feels, and there's a lot of things that actually everybody will be able to relate to. He was talking about grief and giving his advice and his tips with how he deals with it, because he's lost a lot of close friends as well. So yeah, it's for everybody, but if you like Dad and you like Ed, it's the perfect podcast. But before we finish, I'd love to say just a massive thank you to you, Howie, because you were my first ever episode. So I wouldn't actually be in this position and have the confidence if it wasn't for your help. So thank you,
I
Howie.
appreciate that. And to be fair, I reckon Ed's going to get a few more downloads, but thanks, mate. Mate, you're a star. No
worries.
You just, the boys can say how well you carry yourself and the representation of your family and the foundation, mate. We need to get you in here next time to talk more about the Saints and this bicep program you're working on, and maybe send a Sada your way as well.
Will Saints make finals?
I hope so. If we don't, we're in a bit of trouble. It's like, I like the bit of personality, though, that we're getting. Like, you can call us the Mafia, you can call us whatever you want. At least we have a brand and a personality. Now it's just time to actually put it into action. Exactly.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Warne's Way podcast with Ed Sheeran, Monday 6 p.m. it drops. Do yourself a favour. Good on you, Jacko. Stay safe, mate. McDonald's Marine Hot Water, Triple M rocks football, not too far away from handing over to the team at the Adelaide Oval, ready to call the socks off a huge game of football. Adelaide versus the Western Bulldogs. Appointment viewing and listening on the M's. Mark Howard with you. The Chiefs in Adelaide ready to do that game on Fox. Damo's here and Noodle is here with a little grin on his face. What do you got for us, Nate?
Got a few media wars.
In footy, the battles aren't only fought on the field.
The scoreboard on Fox is pretty big, isn't it?
Good to be here. The only broadcasters that are actually at the ground.
This is the Footy Media Wars.
Now, you mightn't have heard of this account on Instagram, but it's called Back to the Bench TV.
Right.
Yep. But 107,000 followers. So that's not small. That is a big supporter base or a big follower base. 107,000 Back to the Bench TV. Remember Brody Holland played for Fremantle and Collingwood. 25,000. His Instagram is quite entertaining. He gets on there and bees himself. He's quite an extrovert with his wife Sarita.
Good man, Brody.
And they do a great job. I like Brody. Saw him in Noosa. Now last week after Carlton played Richmond
at the RACV.
That was at the beach. Carlton played Richmond and Tom Lynch pushed young Harry Dean and a free kick against him. Brody went online and just questioned the fact that it wasn't a free kick and just normal football commentary. I thought it was quite interesting. But this Back to the Bench TV fella, he's then started just pushing all these messages and like questioning who Brody Holland was and what he was about. And then Brody had enough and this was his response.
Harry Dean is not a kid. He's an 18-year-old man-child. His dad was Peter Dean, probably the last tough player that played for Carlton. He's back to the bench, fella. You got to chill the out. All I said was, settle down, big fella. I've seen and done a lot worse than that. And you've come with all these comments. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? From all your bot accounts? Wouldn't get a kick in a cage fight. Well, actually, I would. Against your mob, I averaged 22 possessions and 1.6 goals a game, in fact. So if you're going to start a page called Back to the Bench, your handle should maybe change to Back to the Bottom, because Carlton, they're no good. They're no good, champ. All right, I don't know if you remember this game. You're probably still in your mum's womb around this time, no doubt. 8 goals won, I kicked against West Coast, 2002. 8 goals won, that means I had at least 9 kicks that day. And if you're going to walk half naked down the street because you lost a bet with your Richmond scarf on, at least rip yourself up, get yourself prepared, get in the gym, son. And don't be a tight ass. Buy yourself a pair of decent underwear, some Calvin Kleins or something. And call me uncle you like, but when you look like this pushing 50, come and see me, champ.
Champ? What did he do when he said when you're pushing 50?
He looked good too.
Did he? Was his shirts off?
It was shirts off.
Nice.
Yeah, he
I
had
like
the rig out. And I'm looking forward to the Back to the Bench TV's response. So I like this sort of stuff. That was good. Nice stuff. I think 107,000 followers Back to the Bench TV. So he's doing well.
I like that.
Pretty sure that 8-goal performance was Juddy's first game too.
Was it?
Yeah.
Right.
At the MCG and Brody just lit it up.
How many did you kick on Jimmy Clement that day?
5 in 15 minutes.
Gee, you're at the Adelaide Oval. I have a great expectation of what we're going to see tonight. Where do you sit on this, Big Daddy?
I genuinely think it's a toss of the coin game. I think we've got two of the teams that are going to feature pretty prominently in 2026, and it's a great matchup. Excited to see the Crows at home. We know how tough it is over here. They've got a pretty good record in recent times against the Bullies, but I think the Bullies are the best of the Victorian team, so it's going to be a great matchup.
Chief, there's a lot of excitement about what's going to go on at either end of the ground tonight. Sam Darcy at one end and Rolly Thilthorpe at the other, just as one of the greatest exponents of the key forward positions ever. Do you get excited like the layperson?
Oh, you have to. But, I mean, they're very different types of players. They're beasts. They're enormous. They're giants that have the ability to just control things when the ball comes their way. They can monster pack. So a lot of excitement, but there's so many support acts around both Thilthorpe and Darcy. So a lot to look forward to.
Howie, we've seen the troubles of Bobby Hill in recent months. He didn't play for Collingwood after round 21 last year, and there was a build-up to that moment even prior to him playing in that last time for Collingwood. Personal reasons and family reasons are the reasons he's been given and time for away from the footy club. But there was a positivity outcome during the course of the week where he actually returned for the first time to Collingwood as part of a process to get him back. There was an unknown about it. Craig McRae's been so supportive, Collingwood coach, about what he's been through and basically kept it open-ended and timeless as to how long this may take. Well, it's the first time he's been back, and it's going to take, Chief, I'd imagine, at least 8 weeks as a bare minimum just to get him back to anything resembling match fitness, and then you might have to add another 3 to 4 to 5 to even maybe 6 weeks back in a VFL system in some sort. But at least, though, and for the first time this year, they've actually got some hope that he may be able to be playing again in 2026.
It's good to see, isn't it? I mean, he needs a proper pre-season under his belt effectively. The last thing you want to do is throw him to the Wolves and put him out there if he's not prepared. But I think being back in the structure of a footy club will be great for Bobby, and they'll wrap their arms around him, and hopefully we see some of his great football again, if not this year, certainly next year.
Do you expect him to play this year, Damo?
I do if it goes to plan from here. Yeah, there's enough runway to do it. But again, they tried to get him back last year in that round 21 game. And
he looked underdone then.
Yeah, and then there was even a push to have him play in the prelim final, and they made the decision Tuesday or Wednesday of that week not to. They obviously lost that game relatively narrowly. So he's a massive out, just on the straight footy side of it, a massive out for this footy club. Obviously a Norm Smith medalist in 2023 and someone who's been so crucial to them. But yeah, to answer your question, I do. And I think it's a sign now, Browny, that he has gone back into the club, that it's heading the right way. Another casualty, or one of many now, out of the State of Origin game was Matty Rowell, Browny, who dislocated or fractured a finger during it. There's been a heap of players who've suffered damage from that game. And he hasn't played, apart from that State of Origin game, since winning the Brownlow last year. There was initially a time frame of around 3. That's not going to happen, and it could well be some time beyond that. So it just sounds quite minor, doesn't it? Fractured finger in the scheme of footy injuries, but it's one that is clearly holding him back from playing football post winning the Brownlow.
It's a shame because they'll blame the State of Origin and they'll be hesitant to allow their players to play when it happens again. I thought the State of Origin was terrific, but these injuries that have come out of it are going to hurt its chances going forward.
It is a concern, but what it has done, Howie, is allow Christian Petrarca to come into that team without needing to just work in with Rowell and Anderson and Miller and Humphrey and others, but he's just been able to be the main man, and it's working beautifully.
We've got about 45 seconds to go. Chief, post-game tonight in Adelaide, are we doing anything socially, going out for dinner, or what are you up to? What's your plans?
I'll be straight back to my room, Howie. Got an early flight tomorrow to get back. Got another game to do tomorrow.
Okay, what game you got tomorrow, Chieftain?
The
other game.
The other game.
Giants against St Kilda.
Okay, that'll be worth a look.
Head down to Gaucho's.
Sorry?
Head down to Gaucho's. Quick steak.
What, at midnight?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not happening, Nathan.
Okay. Well done to you all, to Tunners, to the J-Dog out there who looks after socials, to Herb, who's just backed up with dates from here to Albury. It's been a fantastic show. We're going to hand over the Adelaide Oval now.
All down the Hume.
You've been outstanding.
Yep.
Busy operator.
Well done, Chief. Great
Well
work,
done.
Chief.
Even Leroy's out there.
Yeah, that's it. For McDonald's and Remont Water, Big Leroy's here. Triple M, bubbling one up again. Rocks football.